Coming up on the South Florida High School Football Show, we'll spotlight Western Broward County, where Cypress Bay and Western are dueling it out. We'll scout out the best offensive linemen in Dade and Broward, and we'll preview two marquee matchups for next weekend. All of that coming up on the South Florida High School Football Show. Hello once again, everybody, and welcome to the South Florida High School Football Show. Joe Zagacki with Don Bailey Jr. coming to you from Dave and Buster's, your eat, drink, and play destination for serious football action. We have some serious football action this past weekend. We'll get to all those highlights momentarily. We're also going to be looking ahead to some of the great games coming up next weekend. Don, let's kick things off with some of the important teams that have a chance here to make a run in high school football. And we'll start in Broward County with a team that is always right there, swooned a little bit last year, but this year playing great football, Cypress Bay, coached by Mark Guandolo.
Well, Joe, year in, year out, week in, week out, Cypress Bay has always been in the running, and you really have to credit Coach Guandolo for that. He's a well-disciplined team. He has stayed with his foundation forever until this year. He's tinkering with that offense a little bit. They were wing teeing it forever and ever and ever. Now they're spreading it out. They're getting a little more creative on it, and it's got the team excited. It's got the coaches are having to study a little bit more. They're feeling good about themselves and how that offense is coming into play, but they're also playing outstanding defense, and that's a big, big key for this team.
They had a signature win last weekend when they defeated Miramar. One of the things that he liked about that victory against Miramar was the toughness that his team showed.
Well, that comes with depth also. Cypress Bay over the last few years has struggled with having a good second and third team. This year they're able to rotate a little bit more. They're able to get some players on the field where they haven't had that luxury in the past, but also what they're doing is they're not giving up the yards defensively. They're battening down the hatches, holding people under 200 yards. They're chasing the football, and you know they're going to be well coached. We've talked about that year in and year out about a Mark Guandolo coach team.
You mentioned his defense. He has Nico Marley running around there at linebacker. You know, you're a former Hurricane. You're familiar with his dad. Rohan played linebacker at the U.
And there's a lot of comparisons. Everybody's going to tell you, like they said about Rohan. Rohan's too small. He can't play D1. He can't do this. Well, he proved everybody wrong. Nico's doing the same thing. He chases the football. He's good at their point of attack. Does an excellent job of understanding and deciphering the offense. You could tell that he's a second-generation, big-time football player.
You know, out there in West Broward, there was a time where that was not a great area for high school football, and now that is going to become a really tough district because you're talking about Cypress Bay, Miramar, Flanagan, and now Western is in the mix as well. And Western's got it going here a little bit at the beginning of the year. The Wildcats, coached by Richard West, won their first 4 games. Later in the season, they will play Miramar and Cypress Bay with a chance to get themselves into the playoffs. But this is a much improved Western Wildcat team.
Well, one thing that'll help you is great play out of your quarterback position, and that's what Western's getting. They got the offensive line. They've always been pretty solid on the offensive line play. They've been very consistent, but Coach West has got the quarterback moving the football around. They've interjected a lot of energy onto this football team, and it's nice to see that Western is being talked about for just more than an opponent. They're being talked about the possibility of reaching the playoffs and how much they've improved.
All right, let's stay in Broward County, 11-8A. This is a really good team as well, and I think they're going to win this district. South Plantation, a couple of interesting stories going on there. Let's start, number 1, with the running back, Alex Collins. He is a powerful, punishing runner.
Well, you know, Alex Collins can pretty much carry a team to a championship. We saw what Duke Johnson did for Norland last year. Now, they had a couple other players that complimented him, but Alex Collins has the talent. He's the type of back that is going to be pursued by everybody in the country. He can turn a game. He can control a game. You can use him in so many different ways. When you have a back of that type of talent, it's not just one-dimensional. You want to try and flip him the football in the passing game every now and then, but he also has the skill to run inside and out, and he can eat up a lot of clock, which will help your defense.
All right, this has been a national story and really a great story. And Coach Doug Gatewood, has done a marvelous job managing this. But the first female quarterback in the history of the state of Florida is playing for South Plantation. Erin DeMeglio, she's been out there twice, and it's a nice story. The players have rallied around her, and she's been able to get into a couple of games.
Well, I'm glad to see it. Listen, you know, women, if she's earned the spot to be on that football team, and I say that, earned the spot to be on that football team, then she needs to be able to play, and they've handled it very professionally.
They were able to break some barriers there, and there will be a lot of other young girls looking at that saying, hey, I can go play athletics, whether it's football or basketball or soccer.
I see what's coming. It's going to be the Joe Zagacki women's or ladies 7-on-7 football team. Is that what we're talking about that's coming up?
They already have flag football. All right, that's a look at some of the top teams in Broward County. There was some great action this weekend in high school football, and with all the highlights, here is Joe Rose.
Thanks, Joe and Don. Some good games on Friday night. Let's start in Broward County. In high school football, St. Thomas Aquinas visiting Miramar. This game went to double overtime. Miramar down 3, 4th and goal from the 2. Running back Alex Lee takes the handoff, bounces outside to the left, sneaks the ball over the goal line. The Patriots upset the Raiders 27-24. The replay is close, maybe too close to call, but there is no replay. Miramar wins. The Nova Titans celebrating homecoming Friday night as well against Cooper City, but Cooper City decided to spoil the party. The Titans' Michael Flood had a bad day. He threw 4 picks, 3 of them led to touchdowns. Micah White intercepted this pass, which led to a Zachary Tassie touchdown. Cooper City blows out Nova 31-8. Let's go down to Dade County. Belen Joshua taking on Carroll City at Traz Powell. The Wolverines kept this one close, but the Chiefs were too much. Edward Roll reels in this touchdown pass from Akeem Jones. Carroll City holds on for the tight 22-17 win.
Check out SouthFloridaHighSchoolFootball.com, where you will find recruiting overview powered by Larry Bluestein, review the weekly top 20, preview the top games in Dade and Broward County, catch up on Shaquille Jackson's blog and game recaps, nominate candidates for Player of the Year and for High School Teacher of the Year. Catch any of this season's TV shows you may have missed, plus a whole bunch more.
The South Florida High School Football Show is brought to you by Metro PCS, the U.S. Army, BP Gasoline, U18 Sports Medicine, Adidas, Sir Pizza, South Florida Chevy Dealers, Tico People's Gas, and Dave & Buster's.
A few years ago, I decided to push myself further. College, graduate school, degrees in aeronautics and engineering. And I learned that being my best means getting the best from everyone around me. Becoming an Army officer taught me to set high objectives and quickly rise to meet them. Kinda like a rocket.
An Army officer learns to reach new heights and inspires others to do the same. Can you? Find out at goarmy.com/officer.
They watch me all the time. And I think my mom found my stash of Sir Pizza boxes.
My parents are totally convinced that my ranch dressing habit is becoming a serious problem.
I told them I only eat squares and with only crumbled bits of pepperoni. They say that's how it all starts.
They just don't understand how good it is. A special blend of cheese, the sauce, the crunchiness, the dough.
But I can totally stop whenever I want.
It's not a problem.
I'm in complete control.
.9 is a breakthrough. 6.9 is a physics lesson. 6.9 is the outer limits. 6.9 is an explosion. Uh-oh, he just got faster. 6.9 is ounces, and that makes this the lightest ever.
The recruiting segment is brought to you by Metro PCS, wireless for all.
South Florida High School Football Show continues from Dave & Buster's, your eat, drink, and play destination for serious football action. Joe Zagacki with former University of Miami center Don Bailey Jr. Time for our Metro PCS recruiting segment. And Don, this one is right in your wheelhouse. Offensive linemen in Dade and Broward County.
Well, we need them. I hope they keep growing them down here, Joe. Offensive linemen notoriously have not come out of South Florida. A lot of the teams in Florida have had to go outside the state entirely to pick up big players, but I think that's changed lately. You see a lot of the kids really working harder towards being successful at that position, and some of the kids that have not had success on the defensive line early in their high school career have moved over to the offensive side of the line and it's paid big dividends when it comes time for a scholarship.
We have all these 7-on-7 leagues in the summertime and spring and the summer, and people talk about how that helps the quarterbacks and the wide receivers. How does the 7-on-7 just getting out there help offensive linemen in terms of pass protection? They may not participate in all those leagues, but they're getting involved in other 7-on-7 activities.
Well, what's happened, Joe, the 7-on-7 has increased the passing game overall. We see it in college football every single weekend. You're seeing it now in high school football. Heck, we just got done talking about Cypress Bay going to the spreads. Well, you're having teams that have historically been running teams. Now, all of a sudden, they're having to pass block. So these guys are having to learn to get their sets and use their hands, and it's done a lot of good things for the offensive linemen.
Okay, we're going to find out more about how they get in those sets and use their hands with our Huawei Activa Metro PCS phone. You know who's on the other end of this thing as I dial it up?
I bet it's Old Blue.
Old Blue. All right, Larry, what do you have for the offensive linemen this week?
Well, Joe, Don, it's the big boys. I know you've waited for quite some time for this, and certainly when you talk about big men, especially in South Florida, you can't start any place else but Booker T. Washington, Denver Kirkland. I'm telling you right now, this is a guy who's played since his 9th grade season. He's progressed, he's gotten bigger, he's like 320 pounds, and I'm telling you, he can really move around the field. Another guy that a lot of people are sleeping on a little bit is Jamel Rebalta. He's from Hialeah. He's a big 6'5", 300-plus pound kid. His father was a former heavyweight boxing who went up against Mike Tyson and more than held his own. Big kid, physical, everywhere he went, he did some of the great things. And ending up in Dade County, and I'm telling you, this is a defending All-State kid, Jordy Dalmo from Gulliver Prep. I watched him. I had the pleasure of watching him for the last 2 years, seeing what he can be. And this summer, at one of the camps at Davin Joseph Line Camp in Hallandale, I saw what he is. He's a big, strong kid, a very intelligent kid, and somebody who's going to be playing a lot for the next couple of years. We move into Broward County, and you talk about big. What about Sanley Gene Felix from Boyd Anderson? 6'5", 295 pounds, one of the more athletic players. A lot of people haven't been talking about him. He was hurt a little bit. Now he's going to be in the spotlight. Everyone's going to look at him, and he's a big-time prospect. One of the big stories of this offseason was Kyle Schaffenecker from St. Thomas Aquinas. When the 2011 season ended, he was one of the good football players, but he really turned himself into something special during January, February, and March, and by April, everybody knew him, and by May, spring, he already had offers, and he committed to the University of Connecticut, and I'm telling you, this is one of those guys that you're going to follow throughout the season. Every time you see St. Thomas on TV, he's going to be a name they're going to mention plenty. And rounding out our big boys in the offensive line, Jordan Budwig. He's already proven what he could do over the last 2 years at University School. Now he gets a chance as a senior to really step up. I'm telling you, when it comes to big men, it hasn't always been the way that we've had great guys, but suddenly in the last couple of years, every college in the country is coming south, and for good reason.
Thanks, Larry. Tico People's Gas. Before you pick up the shovel, pick up the phone, call 811. Tico People's Gas is awarding the Player of the Year award to one player in Miami-Dade and one player in Broward. To nominate a player, visit SouthFloridaHighSchoolFootball.com. Look for the Tico Vote Here icon. Nominations are open until November 30th. The players take home a beautiful crystal trophy, and the schools that vote the most receive a $500 donation. The winners will be announced during our National Signing Day TV show on February the 6th.
The Sports Medicine Timeout is brought to you by U18 Sports Medicine, your sports medicine provider for the young athlete.
The South Florida High School Football Show now continues with our U18 Sports Medicine Timeout. Coming to you from the Joe DiMaggio's Children's Hospital. Many great locations here, and we're at one of them, Daniela's Atrium, with Dr. Stephen Storer. And Doctor, this week's topic is an important one for athletes. We're going to discuss swelling of the knee.
Right. Swelling of the knee can sometimes be a very mild problem and just need a little bit of rest before athlete returns, but at other times it can be a sign of something much more severe.
Is swelling of the knee often an overuse injury?
It can be an overuse injury, and at that time, the first thing I would do is just rest and give it some time for the swelling to go down before the athlete returns to sports.
What kind of rehab is an athlete looking at from the minor to the major?
Well, on the minor side, it's just a sign of overuse. On the major side, it can be a sign of ACL tear or meniscal tear.
You know, there's a lot of competition out there with young athletes. They want to get back out on the field. How important is it for them to get the proper diagnosis and then go through the proper rehab?
Sure. Well, if it's a minor injury, athletes can rest and get back pretty quickly. They've got to learn how to listen to their body and give it time to heal itself. And if it doesn't, they ought to see a doctor.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much for the valuable information.
Great.
The Teacher of the Year Award is brought to you by the South Florida Chevy dealers. Chevy runs deep. The South Florida Chevy dealers will be recognizing outstanding educators and handing out $4,000 in donation. Help us by nominating a high school teacher for the 2012 South Florida Chevy Dealers High School Teacher of the Year Award. Chevy will award a crystal trophy to one teacher in each county, plus each teacher school wins a $2,000 general donation. Visit SouthFloridaHighSchoolFootball.com to learn how to nominate a teacher for consideration. We are accepting nominations until January 16th. Winners will be announced February 6th. More of the South Florida High School Football Show after this.
The Chevy Cruze Echo also offers 42 mpg on the highway.
Actually, it's Cruze Eco, not Echo.
Just like either. Or either.
Or economical.
Or economical. Potato, potato, huh?
Actually, it's tomato, tomato.
Oh, that's right.
See your South Florida Chevy dealer. That's 42 miles per gallon highway on the fuel-efficient Chevy Cruze Eco. Come on in today and check it out for yourself.
Tico Peoples Gas presents Make the Call.
Hey, what's Bert digging up?
I don't know, planting a tree?
Did he call 811, before he started?
It doesn't sound like it.
Before you pick up the shovel, pick up the phone. Dial 811 and get your utility lines marked for free. Avoid the fines. Don't hit the lines. If you hit a utility line, you can interrupt your service and your neighbors too. Know exactly what you're digging yourself into. Call 811. Brought to you by Tico Peoples Gas.
Move to Metro and put your speed on with lightning fast 4G LTE. Unlimited, no data caps, now as low as $50 a month. That's one smart plan for stupid cheap. Only at Metro PCS. Wireless for all. Now, speed all you want for as low as $50 a month. With Metro PCS 4G LTE, it's lightning fast with no data caps as low as $50 a month. Unlimited, unbeatable, and unheard of. Metro PCS. Wireless for all.
The Coach of the Week is brought to you by Adidas, All In.
We are back at Dave & Buster's on the South Florida High School Football Show. Joe Zagacki with Don Bailey Jr. Remember, Dave & Buster's, your eat, drink, and play destination for serious football action. Let's move on to our Coach of the Week, our Adidas Coach of the Week from Carroll City High School, doing a really good job. Someone you are familiar with, Harold Barnwell.
Harold Barnwell is doing a fantastic job at Carroll City, having success this year. He was able to hold on to a lot of players, didn't lose many transfers. But the good thing about Coach Barnwell is that he has the same rules and he follows the same systems in a lot of ways in the discipline area as Coach Walt Frazier, who was there for many years and won a bunch of state championships. We're glad to see Coach Barnwell doing such a great job.
The Adidas Coach of the Week, Adidas, All In. Here's Harold Barnwell with our Brian Saul.
Well, thanks, Joe and Don. This week's Adidas Coach of the Week from Carroll City High School, one of the best down here in Miami-Dade County, Harold Barnwell. Coach Barnwell, what's it feel like to be behind the helm here again for another Chiefs football season?
Well, I mean, survived those bad seasons we've had, and my administrative staff felt and trusted me, to give me another shot at it. So, it feels good to be behind my alma mater once again.
Absolutely. You put a lot of passion into your alma mater. You're in a tough district. What do you tell your players to get them up and not mentally think that they can't compete with teams in this district?
Well, I mean, on any given day, anybody can be beat. It's just what you put in the off season, and then it comes to fruition during the season. So I just tell them, don't go in there thinking that you're going to lose or they're better than us. Just go in there and say, hey, it's an even playing field, and let's just go out there and play football.
Hey, one guy that definitely can play football, your quarterback. I mean, talk to us about him and what he does on the field that people see him performing well.
Well, he has worked himself into being a great leader for us. Kids follow him a lot, but he's surrounded with great supporting cast, both in offense and defense. But they just work so hard together as a team. And, yeah, he's kind of the vocal guy, but the other guys are kind of a little lead by example more type of guys.
Who have you seen step up the most being a senior-driven team to have that leadership positions like you're talking about?
Well, one of my defensive tackles, Aaron Thomas, has played well pretty much all of the games this year. I was surprised to see my running back play well. I mean, not the fact that he couldn't do it, but just to see how much success he's having, and then to see how well our offensive line has been playing this year. You know, that was a big plus for us.
Do you consider yourself more a defensive coach or offensive-minded coach?
Well, I mean, I played offense, but I call the plays on the defensive side of football, and I work with the defensive back. So, you know, I have to consider myself, I guess, a defensive guy then.
Yeah, maybe you bring that offense over to the defensive side and teach them some things.
Right, yeah. You know, but it's been a challenge at times. But, you know, my offensive background, that helps me a lot prepare defensively.
Now, in talking to these kids, what do you do to keep them ready for the whole season? I mean, you got a lot of talent. Being at Carroll City, it seems like you're always having some Division I players in there. How do you have them work together as a team and have them buy into the Coach Barnwell philosophy?
Well, the key word there is team. You know, we don't publicize or glamorize any one or two guys on the team, because any given week anybody can step up and be that playmaker for that particular game. So we just keep a team atmosphere around there and just let them know everybody has an important role on that team.
Absolutely. Well, Coach Barnwell, we appreciate the time. Thanks for everything you do for Carroll City. The rejuvenation process is here at Carroll City. This week's Coach of the Week, Harold Barnwell. Joe and Don, back to you guys.
Thanks, Brian. Time now for the Play of the Week, sponsored by Sir Pizza, good to the very edge. Cypress Bay at Miramar. Miramar's Eric Pittman on the punt return. He cuts near side, then far side, then down to the 10, where he turns around. Cypress Bay's Gavin Anderson, who never gave up on the play, hits Pittman, thus saving the touchdown, and makes our Play of the Week.
Hi, I'm Laura Jormigis with this week's Army Bowl nominees, brought to you by the U.S. Army, Army Strong. This week we have two Palm Beach candidates. First up is William Likely, the cornerback from Glade Central Community High in Belle Glade. Likely measures in at 5'8", 175 pounds. Early in the season, he had a 99-yard kickoff return and added a spectacular 45-yard touchdown reception in the fourth quarter. The plays made the top spot on SportsCenter Top 10 list. Likely has offers from many schools, including his top three choices, LSU, Stanford, and Wake Forest. Next up, Greg Bryant, the running back from American Heritage in Delray Beach. Bryant is 5'11", 200 pounds, and in his junior year, he recorded over 2,000 yards rushing with 25 rushing touchdowns. With many strengths, including his power, size, and tackle-breaking ability, Bryant is one of the nation's top prospects. Look for him to choose between Oklahoma, Alabama, or South Carolina, just to name a few, come signing day.
The South Florida High School Football Show is also on Facebook and Twitter. Like us at SFHSFS and follow us at HSF Ball as soon as you can. You'll receive weekly updates from our insiders, news, announcements, and game day scoring updates from all over South Florida, plus deals and offers from our partners, including Sir Pizza, Sports Authority, Metro PCS, and many more. And we'll continue right after this.
At U18 Sports Medicine, our focus is on treating young athletes. Experienced pediatric orthopedic surgeons from Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital Department of Orthopedic Surgery work with the U18 staff to help meet a variety of needs: X-rays, MRIs, physical therapy, and much more. Our leading-edge facilities located at Memorial Hospital Miramar and Coral Springs are open year-round. U18 can help young athletes stay off the sidelines and on the field. A program of Memorial Healthcare System and Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital. Visit U18sportsmedicine.com.
It's Chevy Truck Month. Time to get in and grab a Silverado at your Chevy dealer, where you'll get a great deal on the most dependable, longest-lasting, full-size pickups on the road. So gear up and get going. Get your hands on a legendary Silverado while the time is right. See your South Florida Chevy dealer. Now during Chevy Truck Month, get 0% APR financing for 60 months or trade up to get the 2012 Chevy Silverado Florida All-Star with a total value of $8,000. Hurry in before they're all gone.
The car on the left was filled up with low detergent gasoline, while the car on the right was filled up with BP gasoline with Invigorate, which helps clean and protect its engine, so it can get a few more miles per tank than the car on the left. Go a little farther with BP gasoline with Invigorate.
You need flooring? Well, call Don Bailey Flooring today for the lowest prices on the planet Earth. Brand names like Mohawk, Karastan, and Armstrong from 40 to 70% off. Visit one of our 5 locations. Call Don Bailey Flooring today.
The keys to the game are brought to you by BP Gasoline with Invigorate, the preferred fuel of the South Florida High School Football Show.
Back here on the South Florida High School Football Show, Joe Zagacki with Don Bailey Jr. We're at Dave & Buster's, your eat, drink, and play destination for serious football action. Coming up on Friday, we've got some great football action. It's our simulcast. You can catch the game on the radio on WQAM and on our website at SouthFloridaHighSchoolFootball.com. It's going to be a really good one. It's Jackson and Booker T on WQAM and on SouthFloridaHighSchoolFootball.com. You can watch and listen. With a preview, here's Mike Levine.
Thanks, Joe and Don. Our game this week, of course, Jackson and Booker T. Jackson, a program on the rise under Nigel Dunn. They're looking to do some big things. Booker T, of course, last year they had some disappointment. They were expected to win the state championship by many. That didn't happen. This year, 4-1. They only lost to Central, but Booker T is widely considered to be the best team in South Florida. They've got D1 talent all over the field, but the objective for them, of course, is that state championship, and Ice Harris, almost midway through the year, has them on a pretty good path. Joe, Don, back to you.
Another big rivalry in Dade County, Northwestern and Columbus. Columbus won this a couple years ago. Northwestern has won the last 2. For Columbus to win this one next week, they've got to get their running game going.
That they do, and that's easier to talk about than it is to do. You've got Northwestern's defense that's been very good stopping the run the last couple weeks, and they need to go back to the run. They need to run the football. Northwestern wants to take advantage of their running game. They've got their offensive line is finding that groove. They're getting very cohesive, and Coach Fields has got them believing in themselves, but they have to do with what they do, and that's run the football and play defense if you're a Northwestern Bull.
Northwestern has already rushed for 1,000 yards this season, so you know they can run. And you mentioned their defense. They've tossed 2 shutouts.
Yeah, so when you have that confidence, when you've got 1,000 yards on the ground already and you're able to shut teams out, Columbus has to understand that points are at a premium. I wouldn't be surprised that the kicking game, the field goals, have a big part to do if Columbus is going to be successful in this.
You know, Columbus, this kid's been on our show a couple times. It's because I love his name. And he really does a great job running the football. Daryl Chestnut. And he's averaging double digits per play.
15 yards a touch. I mean, I would just keep feeding the kid. And so what? Let's say it goes down to 10 yards a carry. You've got that kind of number. It's almost unbelievable that at high school, especially at the level that they're playing with, that he's able to get 15 yards every time he touches the ball as an average. Great breakaway speed, makes the defender miss. He's the guy that's going to be the difference maker for them to win the football game, if that happens.
All right, so a lot of big games next weekend in your community. We just put the spotlight on 2 games in Miami-Dade County. Don't forget to join us next week for our show, once again, right here, the South Florida High School Football Show on NBC6. For Don Bailey Jr., I'm Joe Zagacki. We'll see you next week, everybody.
The South Florida High School Football Show is brought to you by Metro PCS, the U.S. Army, BP Gasoline, U18 Sports Medicine, Adidas, Sir Pizza, South Florida Chevy Dealers, Tico People's Gas, and Dave & Buster's.
Let's go! 30 years. Don't get no better than this. Let's go! I played baseball, basketball, I played them all. Ain't nothing like Friday night under the lights. Enjoy this! Hey, it's only a game. This is a game. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. Hey, let's go, man. Let's go. Let's go.